Hello everyone, welcome to tonight's event put on by the Shoalhaven Greens. I hope you can hear me. Please let me know if you can't. In the meantime, you can see that there was an instruction to just remain on mute as long as you can. Unless you want to speak, there will be a Q&A at the end. The speakers will have 3 minutes each, and then we'll open it up to the audience after that. I'm going to start the event with an acknowledgement of country by Takisa Franks, who is from Ward 3 and lives a little bit south of Ulladulla.
Hello everyone. Tonight I'll be doing the acknowledgement to country in Durga language, the Aboriginal language of where I live. Wallawani Naga, Takisa Frank, Banaga, Aboriginal Granger. Welcome. My name is Takisa Frank and I'm an Aboriginal woman. Naiga Banja Jin, Naiwanya Darida. I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Aboriginal people. Naiga Banja Big Yayin, Bagunguyin, Bugia Banawe, Babunja, Wanana Yahweh Nawe. I would like to pay respect to elders both past and present and extend that respect to any other Aboriginal people here today. This land is, was, and always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you.
Well, everyone, Hi, everyone. My face is on the screen, so I'm taking that's my cue to come on and say hi. And I really want to thank Takisa for the acknowledging of country this evening. It's really wonderful to have a young Aboriginal woman part of our team in the Shoalhaven. Takisa is an amazing young lady, and she's done a lot in her short years. And I just want to acknowledge the fact that she was a school captain. She's received state awards for the work that she's done through her school. And at the moment, she's really involved in the Southeast Forest campaign to try and save our beautiful forests. I'm coming to you all abuzz this evening because I've just come from the launch of Zero Southeast, which is an alliance of people who are coming together to look at zero carbon for 2035, as we've recently heard about from the IPCC, that this is something that we need to do. And that was really interesting because it really connects to what we're talking about tonight, and that is work for our young people going forward and work in general in the Shoalhaven. So I want to just touch on a few of the things that I've been involved in and some of the things that I've been promoting through council and some of the things that you can promote as well, which are really important for getting our young people into work. I also want to just start by acknowledging as well that I understand that everybody's going through this COVID crisis in their own different ways, and that it's bringing about different stressors to different people, and in particular to our small businesses across the Shoalhaven who are really struggling with the continuation of these lockdowns. And I know that everyone is looking forward to greater freedoms whenever they come. So when the greater freedoms do come, some of the things that I'd really like you to be engaged with, and I'll just start with one of the two training opportunities actually that are coming up in the not so distant future. As many of you will know, Bundanon has received over $20 million in grant funding to do a massive extension out there for the art gallery for Arthur Boyd, for Arthur Boyd's collection, which is pretty amazing, and they're going to need staff. So Bundanon are doing a work readiness project through the Illawarra Yes program, which I'll talk about a bit more. So if you've got young people that are in your sphere of influence, or if you're listening tonight and you would like to get in touch with that, that's a great way to start your journey in employment. Another one, and I'm sure that all of our people in hospitality will be really glad to hear this, is that there's a summer skills program that's going to be running as well through Illawarra Yes. And we're part of that program, being the Shoalhaven, the Illawarra Shoalhaven, and the joint organisation of councils, and of course part of that greater business chamber. But the summer skills will help our young people who are looking not just to get into hospitality, but into other sectors as well within our district. If you know of young people who are at school, can I recommend that those young people from year 10 onwards engage with their workplace learning coordinator. I was working at Vincentia High for some time and worked with a fantastic lady there called Linda Hawkins. And Linda's had amazing results with the young people doing vocational training through their schools and their curriculum. Linda matches young people to different employers, and 9 times out of 10, those employers will come back to those young people and give them jobs into the future. And that's a really important part about that matching. Again, that's something that the Illawarra Yes program also does, is work directly with employers and with young people to match skills and match people so that they come together in a really beautiful way. Council itself have been doing lots of different things trying to refresh the workforce. And that's because the Shoalhaven City Council has an ageing workforce and of course many skills gaps that are emerging. And those skills, if young people are interested in going on to university, sit in areas of town planning, of surveying for land and development. And in many of the other spaces as well, environmental health officers are always needed, and those positions come up quite regularly. And of course, they do
Even with a ban on visitors, the virus has got into facilities. One of the deaths today was the 3rd elderly person to die from
Can we just stop for a second? There's someone that has their microphone on. It's just joined.
ABC News Sydney.
Someone listening to the ABC News.
For now, back.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay, so Council's also been working with the Hunter Valley Training Corporation to get more trainees and more apprentices on in Council. Many of these are in Shoalhaven Water. We've also sponsored the boot camp, the productivity boot camp at South Nowra. And that's been amazing because they put through 10 to 15 young people at a time, young men and young women, to get them their skills that they need, their white card to get into the construction industry. And they've had amazing results as well, with many of their young people going on, getting employment and getting that locally, either through different builders or through people like Fulton and Hogan, who are doing those massive constructions here in the city. The capital expenditure that's been spent by the state government is still flowing into Shoalhaven, and with a record amount of grant money coming into Shoalhaven in the last year. Under my leadership, we've been able to take that grant money from 17 million as an average per year to 60 million this year. And that 60 million, of course, is a whole bunch of projects. So we need the project managers of tomorrow, today, to do that work over the coming months. So there'll be plenty of work going out to different tenders. And of course, we have a local preference policy that's in place, preferencing our local people to try and get them into those jobs. There's so much going on. Defence Industry Group's another area that is looking for people and they want to grow their own talent here at home. And of course, there's been a Defence Industry Group symposium where they matched up with TAFE to try and get young people to come into the Defence Industry Groups to do that science and technology with them. I think that the future for the Shoalhaven and employment looks bright. My optimism was probably at an all-time high in about July before this lockdown came. And I guess like many of you, I had that crashing reality that optimism felt quite paper thin after a very short period of time. But what I'm hoping is that, being an optimistic person, and I know many of you are, that if we can maintain that optimism over the next few months, that we can grab back onto it and really bring the Shoalhaven back out of hibernation and into the place that we all love, a vibrant and beautiful city. I'll hand the baton over now, Tonya, to you.
And perfectly timed. Thank you very much, Amanda. I think everyone will agree that moving from 17 million to nearly 60 million in grant money absolutely quadruples our chances in the Shoalhaven to do really innovative and progressive work. So thank you for your leadership, and it's wonderful to stand beside you and hopefully move these initiatives further. The team that we have put together today are all young and inspiring people, or they were very young when they first started their business, and they'll be speaking from their wisdom points about what they've learned along the way. They've all seen some niche market and then been trailblazers along the way. We're trying to understand today how, if you've got children who may be late teenage years about to graduate from school, or even a young person yourself looking for that new career path, what is on offer here in our region. So without any further ado, knowing that we've got Q&A at the very end, the first speaker is Pia Winberg. And if you haven't heard of Pia before, she has FICO Health in the Huskisson Vincentia area. At the age of 4, she moved to Australia. And from there, she has obviously done her doctorate in marine ecology. Someone might have their microphone on. Can you mute yourself, please? Great. A doctorate in marine ecology. Then she went back to Stockholm and with her daughter and husband, now is back with this most innovative and inspiring industry, which totally blows me away. So I'm going to stop my sharing because I know Pia probably has a PowerPoint that she'd like to put up. Are you ready now, Pia, to go? Are you there, Pia?
Yes, I'm here now. So I'll just put on the share screen and so ready to go there. So yeah, thanks for having me. And I think I've been invited to answer a couple of questions, and I chose the first question was, why did I decide to launch a company in the Shoalhaven? Well, I have to say first that I purposefully decided first to live in the Shoalhaven, sitting in Stockholm many years ago, actually looking at a map of planet Earth and said, where would I like to live? When Surfers Avenue in Mollymook felt pretty good. Well, my neighbours live there and I live in Narrawali, but it's because globally, and I've seen many places, this is outstanding. And then once I've lived here, then you've got to ask yourself, well, what can I do? What's going on around here? And this is over 22 years ago. And of course, the Shoalhaven has the most amazing natural resources. And so my opportunity was to take my knowledge in global nutrient systems and work out how can I apply that here. And we've got amazing food industries. So I currently work in collaboration with a major food processor in Nowra. You'd all be aware of the Manilda Group. And I capture waste streams from their food processing plant. They've got food grade carbon dioxide and nitrogen that they're not taking advantage of. And I know how to use it. So through the natural ecosystems in this area, I've designed a production system. And from that, we can make a range of products. So we can also create opportunities for value adding into food or skincare and other products. And I felt that, you know, the need in the Shoalhaven was that we need new industries. The industries need to build on the natural environment and also target new markets and sophisticated ideas that I've seen are emerging elsewhere in the world. And why can't the Shoalhaven be a leader in this space? So now we control an ingredient, which is our unique Australian seaweed. And through the two companies, Venus Shoal Systems growing it and FICO Health selling it, and now a couple of other new companies, the FICO Beverage Co. making a kombucha that's now available locally as well. We're making a whole suite of products, some of which I will continue to work with, others which new people can come in and start their own businesses using our ingredients. And that's sort of not like you came to the Shoalhaven deciding, oh, this is the plan. You come, you love the place, and you see what the opportunities are and how you can help and fit in. And then I was asked if I was 18 again, what would I say to myself? I would say in a place like the Shoalhaven, don't be afraid to, and you can lead the way, because if you're in a crowded house like Sydney, it's difficult to find your way forward. And it's really about following what's already happening. But here you've got opportunity to be creative, stay on track and learn in what you love to do, find other people that can do it with you and help you do it bigger and better. And things that I wouldn't have been aware of then is that just be as confident as you can in yourself, that you know as much as anyone else around you, and that you can make the world a better place than people think, and not to listen to the naysayers. Thank you.
That was wonderful, Pia. Thank you so much. So inspiring, but also the richness of talent that we have here in the Shoalhaven is starting to be showcased right here and now. And I'm sure probably some participants didn't realise what you have done with your really cutting edge technology and work in this field. So thank you so much. At this point as well, I'm just going to, if I can, go forward. To fast forward to Stevie and Nick. They are an amazing couple. When I looked at their CVs, it's too long to do it justice. Nick, for example, was voted by the Sydney Morning Herald in 2013 as the Young Chef of the Year. Stevie has got not only the skills that she has in linguistics, because she's an interpreter, and also the culinary skills, but she has a degree in the arts. Grew up in Western Australia, whereas Nick grew up in Foster. They've travelled the world together. They've come back here to Australia to make the South Coast their home. And they were involved with the Silos restaurant, and now in 2018 they moved to opening their own business in Kangaroo Valley, which is the Hampton Deli, and now, as we know, the wine bar is there, putting on great cooking schools and just inspiring the local people with what is on offer at their doorstep. So handing it over to you now, and we'll go from there, Stevie and Nick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tanya. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Stevie, and this is Nick, obviously. For those of you who know Nick, you know that he'll never stop working at 3 minutes. So, but yeah, Nick's our front of house guy at the moment. He does everything for the business because I'm home with our first child, which is exciting. 6 months ago, I'm heavily pregnant, and actually Meg comes to our house and to pick up some of those timber pallets we were giving away, and we start chatting, and naturally we're talking about sort of kids in Shoalhaven, and my advice to people was always to go traveling. As sort of Tanya said, we'd love to travel and see and experience other cultures, but he replied he feels as though, yeah, but that's just more people. So I thought, oh, okay, yeah, it's got an interesting point, you know, that for him it's all about place and getting to know sort of the land around you, and he couldn't speak highly enough of the Shoalhaven. So that got me thinking, you know, 8 years ago when we moved down here, it was because we wanted to be closer to the beaches. We wanted that fresh seafood and those farms with organic vegetables and eggs, and we love the mountain life. And when we wanted to get that city fix, it was only 2 hours away from Sydney or Canberra, so that was possible. So we realised, yeah, this is the place to be. We decided to move here personally first, and then we worked in local businesses, and we realised that on the weekends you could fill a restaurant 3 times over. It was just heaving. But midweek back then was a little bit quieter. So that's how we came up with our business model. So we have 5 streams of income. Our deli by day, we do pop-up degustation dinners and cooking classes, and then we've got some catering which we do off-site to some wonderful places in Kangaroo Valley and around, and then we've got our retail products as well. So no menus, which means we have very little wastage. And when it comes to that farmer dropping off some shard, we can easily make some spinach pie, or when we have that, you know, there's an awesome woman who grows her own seaweed, Peter. We can definitely stock our shelves with her products, and it just gives us this beautiful flexibility, our business model, to create and collaborate any idea that comes to mind. And Nick's a pretty creative person as well, so it's exciting. But then obviously, yeah, COVID hit, and really before that, bushfires. So we sort of lost sort of 3 of those streams of income, and it's been tough, but you know, because we initially set up those 5 aspects to our business, losing 3 meant, we still had 2 to survive on. So I think, living and working regionally, you've got to be resourceful and you diversify. And so I think that's how we've sort of been able to soldier on a bit. But yeah, my 17-year-old self, geez, there's no way we could have foreseen what happened these past couple of years and what we've been through. I think, my vivid memory of being 17 is sitting on the beach and I've got my hands deep in sand and I'm wailing. I'm so upset and I'm crying and wind's blowing, but it's blowing harder and no one could hear me. And I think, that's definitely something that 17-year-olds and young people go through. They feel isolated already. So, I think at the moment, if you're 17 or a young person or someone, you may be watching this and I think maybe some people may feel as though they want to get as far away from the area as possible. But my advice to you is to, definitely find a place that brings you joy, but have a look here, rediscover the Shoalhaven. I'm pretty sure young people out there, you love surfing, you love diving, mountain biking, walking through the bush, the arts, the stuff that's happening down at Bundanon. Like, there's so much here in the Shoalhaven. So rediscover, find place, and then the people and the business opportunities that you need will come. When Nick and I started out down here, it was just Nick and I, that's it. And now we have grown to be connected to a community of hundreds of people. And we just feel so blessed. So yeah, back at you young people and anyone, if you have ideas, you want to talk food, chefing, anything to do with business, we really encourage you. Come on down to the deli, order a coffee and croissant, have a chat to Nick because you haven't had a chat to him before, or meet him at the pump track. He's often there too. So yeah, thanks guys. We really hope to chat to everyone soon.
Thank you. Well done, Sue.
Yeah, thank you very much. We only had your picture on for a little while, but nonetheless, we saw some pictures of what it looks like. So thank you so much, Stevie Lee and Nick, for what you just did and the truly amazing work you're doing in the Valley and beyond. Our next speaker is from Berry, and I just need to share the screen so we can go from there. The next speaker is Nick Crowther, and he owns the Hole in the Wall coffee shop, one of the first we saw in, was the first we saw in the area. Just let me know if you can't see Nick's picture there. All good? Hope it is. Great. Nick, are you on the screen? I haven't had a chat to you yet, but I hope you're here.
I'm here.
Wonderful. Thanks, Nick. We're handing it over to you and whatever you'd like to say for 3 minutes after the questions.
Yeah, truthfully, I feel quite small after hearing Stevie and Pia talk, but also happy to be included as probably one of the younger people here. So it's nice to, be a part of it, and thanks for inviting me. I'd probably focus more on the first 2 questions. So I grew up around the Shoalhaven, mainly Canberra and Hymes Beach. But I always loved the more countryside, so very happy to be in Berry. And like Tonya said, very much hadn't really seen much specialty coffee, and especially just a shop. I call it an espresso bar that just does the one thing. Like, we focus on that. We try to get the good quality stuff from, so our beans come from Canberra, but we get local milk and that kind of thing. So yeah, really drive the quality of what a product can be, like right back to the simplest form. Yeah, definitely hadn't really seen that around. Lots of great cafes that I very much like to visit, but not so much the grab and go kind of thing, which I always say it's that small luxury that we provide. It's one thing that's pretty accessible. It's $4 or $5 a day, but it's that little luxury. It's that 5-minute break in bigger people's lives. I often say to my staff, well, we don't do rocket science, but it is quite a nice little thing that we can provide for the kid. And it's around such as.
Oh, we're breaking up. Is it you or us, Nick? The sound is breaking up, Nick.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Is it better without a video?
It may be, and same for me.
And as far as staying positive throughout COVID, I admit it's been quite difficult. Definitely ups and downs. But yeah, being grateful that we can stay open, that we're not in Melbourne. Feel terrible for industry down there. But yeah, grateful that we can stay open and still interact and break up people's days, I think. Yeah, lots of setbacks, but that's just part of it, I think. It's definitely character building. Yeah, helps you strive forward, I think.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go that quickly forward. Sorry, Nick, it just moved.
No, that's right. I think that about wraps me up.
Well, I'm going to say character building, but you really do a really positive atmosphere in your IV store, and we love visiting you whenever we come in for a coffee or chai. Thanks for your story. I didn't realise you did grow up in Camberwarra as well, so that's great.
Yeah, thanks, Jen.
Okay, and as you saw in the next slide, it's Jackie Shering, who comes from South Coast Bar and Pilates. She went to Bomaderry High School, and straight after leaving school did what most people do, travelled the world. But she comes back to her heart space, which is this local area, and it has carved out a niche market for herself. So with that in mind as her introduction, I'm going to hand it over to Jackie. Thanks.
Thank you, Tonya. What a nice introduction. So welcome to my studio. I started this studio space 2 years ago. And when I'm asked the question of why I decided to open a business here, it really comes down to one word for me, and that is community. So I've been in the health and fitness industry for around the 20-year mark now. And I've been lucky that it's been really quite diverse for me. I've worked with dancers to bodybuilders, from athletes to those of our disabled community, from the ages of 5 all the way up to 95. And through that experience, I really wanted to create a space that was inclusive, a space where people felt welcome, where they felt a sense of community. And that's what I decided to open. So when COVID hit, I mean, we all went through that roller coaster of emotions, and a lot of you are still in that, and that's okay. But it was during the lower part of that roller coaster where I really had to sit and go, what is my why? And as my why being community, it's not about me, it's about us. So with that, I had a little aha moment of, you know, COVID lockdown. It's a gift of time. As a business owner, you know, there is no time. And during lockdown, we've just been given this gift. So I decided to really use that time to then go on to help my community. So I leveled up. I leveled up my education. I leveled up my skill set by learning how to build a website.
So this is Jackie Pilates.
So by building a website, I mean, my first one was terrible, but I was able to grow and learn from that experience. And I leveled up my teaching abilities as well. So using a different medium like Zoom, it's a totally different teaching experience. So I was able to grow and then not only survive, but I've been able to thrive, to come out bigger and better. So talking to my 17-year-old self, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just start.
That's the Pilates class.
Hang on, just whoever is on Marty's phone haven't got themselves muted, and we can hear everything you're saying. So you just mind going on mute, please?
Yeah, so when I started this business, I had 4 mats on the floor. I had 8 clients, and you know, over this 2-year period, even though there's been a roller coaster of it, I've been able to grow, and you can see I have plenty of toys to play with in the studio now. I have over 100 clients, and there is a wait list to come into the studio. So I've created a really lovely family. Not only that, coming out of lockdown this time, I'm actually going to be open a second studio space. And the other thing I would talk to my 17-year-old self about, and I might even need a little bit of a slap. You know, some of the people here, Yala in particular, knows this, that it really is all about attitude. And to have a good attitude and a positive mindset is the only way. I get all emotional. If you know me, I get like that. So I thank you for listening, and yeah, welcome to my studio space.
Wow, Jackie, that was gorgeous. Beautiful speech that you've put together. And as you said, nothing will ever be perfect. Let's just get in there with an attitude of can do and let's have a go. So I love it. Thank you so much.
I can't stop
Moving on to Joey and Simon Panucci. They're a twin brother duo who went to Nowra High School, so local born and bred, and have created a business only recently for themselves called Southeast Brewing at North Nowra. I call it really
Stop it.
innovative. Someone else has still got their
I don't know how to stop it. I
microphone.
want to stop it.
Whoever's on Marty's phone, it's just showing up that you're not on mute. Marty's phone, okay. So thank you. Simon, Joey, handing over to you and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tonya. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
Thanks
that's
for
right.
putting this together and having
Could
this.
I turn the phone off?
Oh. Hello. Hey guys, do you have us?
Sure do. I can hear you loud and clear.
Great,
good.
fantastic, cool. Well, let's get
And I
in.
can see you too. You look awesome. Great backdrop.
Yeah, well, welcome to the brewery. Haven't had many people in here at the moment, but anyone who has been up here knows it's a very inviting, social, local experience for anyone around town. So why did we decide to open in the Shoalhaven? We didn't really. I'd say our past, in our 20s, Simon and I were both touring musicians, got to tour around a lot of the country, and you end up in places like this. And we also ended up gravitating back to the Shoalhaven. And I think after traveling around the country and living in some of the other cities, the lifestyle here was a really big pull, especially for myself. And once you find yourself coming back to gravitating to a certain place that, maybe doesn't have some of the things you were experiencing more often, it starts to kind of there's a little bell ringing in your brain going, what's a good idea? Doing it yourself and making it happen. So it wasn't just about craft beer. It's, that's a passion of mine that I managed to bring Simon in on. But it's also about creating a social experience and a venue for live music, which is part of our growth plans. So that's been a big, exciting part of us doing something, back home. We're literally around the corner from where we grew up. So it's pretty exciting. Hand over to Simon.
Yeah, so as Tonya said, we're quite a recent business, and we've been lucky, unlike some in the state within a hospitality setting, to have had a pretty good run before these serious lockdowns due to COVID came into place for us. But it's a place to be innovative, like Jackie said, and I mean, it allows you some time to think and process the next steps forward. And so there's always something to look up, something to learn. And I'd say that a big part of starting your own business and being, maybe innovative in your area is just staying on top of the game, understanding how to move forward, see what your industry is doing, and, really tailor yourself to your community. We are a community-based business. We operate to bring culture and hopefully joy to the people around us. And hopefully all we're going to do is help keep the economy ticking over so people want to stay in the area because they know there's something here. Something I would have said to my 18-year-old self now is like, maybe don't just pick up and run. There's a lot of opportunity. Maybe just step back, take a breath. School can be overbearing and you can think, oh, I just need to get away. But if you give yourself a bit of space and look around, you might find something just right there on your doorstep.
Yeah, and also you're young and you've got a lot of time, so you know, plenty of choices. So, you know, explore them a bit too. Don't just jump into something, you know, unless you really want to. But anyway, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Look, thank you so much, Simon and Joey. I didn't realise you were musicians before this, so we learn something about one another all the time.
Yeah.
And the common threads for me that I'm listening to are community and the lifestyle, the pull, the magnet of coming back to this area that you love, the themes I'm seeing emerge. So with that in mind, we're moving to our next speaker, who is Amy McDonald. Amy Ruth, sorry, I should say. In January this year, she was appointed as CEO of McDonald International. Obviously, it's a business that her father set up something like 35 years ago, if I understand the statistics correctly. They've got offices everywhere from Sydney to Nowra to Wollongong and in Manchester. I've got to just put a little plug in for my daughter. She's been in the Sydney, Nowra and Manchester office. So we know very well the talent that this industry does nurture and grow. So Amy, I know you've got 3 kids and you're juggling so much with homeschooling. Luckily, you're on holidays today. But also being a CEO, can you give us some pearls of wisdom as a young person rising through the ranks and how you're juggling everything at the same time?
Sure. Thanks very much for the introduction, Tonya. Just a correction, I've actually got 4 kids now. I had another one last year. So yeah, it's fun times being in lockdown with 4 of them. I guess I chose to answer a couple of the questions. The first one, why did we launch in the Shoalhaven? So we're a bit different to some of the newer businesses, I guess, in that we have been established in the Shoalhaven since 1985. When, as you said, my mum and dad moved down to Berry from Sydney. Same reasons as probably a lot of other people here that have come from elsewhere, in that great lifestyle. Berry was probably a very different place 35 years ago than it is now, but it was still, you know, they had a small hobby farm and it was a great place to grow up. So we started our office, small office in Berry, very small office. We soon outgrew it and moved into Nowra, where we still have one of our main offices. So MI Engineers, we employ about 40 people. And the majority are between Nowra and Wollongong. So we're very much in this space. So I guess when the business started growing, we started employing people. It was quite difficult at the time to find, you know, staff to grow it significantly. And that continues to be a challenge for us. But as I grew up and went away to university when I was 18, I was one of those that sort of shipped off at 18. I guess I didn't even look back about coming home and back to the Shoalhaven or the Illawarra, this sort of area. I just sort of took off and left, though I did join the company and have been with them for 20 years. What we do see though now is the South Coast as a real growth market for us. So we've always ticked along as sort of, you know, a local engineering business, structural and civil, local houses and small developments. But now we see it, you know, as a bigger opportunity than even our Sydney office. The South Coast has it all. There are so many people moving down. And so many developments, like Amanda said before, there's now 60 million in grant investment in the area, and as well as some of the bigger projects funded by the state. I mean, that sort of work just continues for us. So not only have that's why we decided to start in the Shoalhaven 35 years ago, but now we see it as just an expansion market for us. So we're hoping, I mean, well, the next question I wanted to answer was, how did we stay afloat during COVID? Again, a bit different. We've thrived during COVID, which I hate to harp on about, but in a busy infrastructure market, and construction didn't shut down. So if anything, we just got busier. But we have been affected by some of the side effects, I guess, of the pandemic. One of those is finding staff. I mean, I've got 6 open positions at the moment for both structural, civil engineers, drafters that you don't need a degree for, that is perfect for sort of those young people that want to stay in the area. So, but it is very difficult to, I guess, entice some of them back, or entice people that don't know how good this area is to live in, and they think they have to be in Sydney to have a good career. I'm here to say that that's not the case. We have perfectly good, thriving careers here in the Shoalhaven. I guess what was different as an 18-year-old that couldn't wait to get away and see the big cities and go away to university and then move overseas for 10 years. I guess what the difference I see now, though, in the Shoalhaven is that there's actually a lifestyle for those younger people. It's not just people, and lots of those businesses that have spoken today just show that there's so much more of a life here for, you know, people in their 20s that can move to the Shoalhaven or stay in the area and have not just a career, but have a really good social and active lifestyle. And that probably wasn't the case so much when, you know, 20 years ago, or more than 20 years ago when I was 18. And I think that really shows how developed the Shoalhaven has been. And it's not just for, you know, people that are moving here with families and going to school and all of those things, but it is also for those people in their 20s who then want to settle down and have their kids here. So, which it's always been a fantastic place for family. Anyway, there's some of my answers. So thank you very much for having me.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Amy Ruth. And my apologies for dropping one child off, which is even more.
I forget her all the time, don't worry.
Well, as you say, there's no reason why the Shoalhaven can't thrive. And it's just wonderful to see your business busier now than it ever has been, with 6 positions on offer as well. So kudos to you and the family, and also how you're the nurturing of the talent that you're doing in the industry. So thank you. The next speaker is Yella. And when I asked Yella to speak, he obviously said to me, "Oh, I don't have very much to say." And I said, "Well, what a humble person you are, Yella, because I know I've been in this area for a long, long time, and I can remember when you started your businesses as a youngster and how you were really cutting edge at that time and how you've followed your passion ever since." So I'm going to hand it over to Yella, and he will tell you his little kernels of wisdom that he's acquired along the way. And I know he's here, unless he's dropped out. We saw him earlier. Let me just see in our participants. Are you here, Yella? If worse comes to worse, he's probably finding his unmute button. Hold your space bar down, Yella, if you wanted to. You can hold the space bar down, and it also allows you to speak.
Hello?
Wonderful. Yes.
Sorry, I was waiting for my photo. Before speaking. Hello, thank you, Tanya, for that lovely introduction. And it's been great to hear all the previous speakers. And there was lots of wisdom already amongst all of those previous presenters. I certainly feel like the older participant here. And I realized actually that at the point where I started employing people that hadn't yet been born when I started my business, that I was not one of the young ones anymore. But thank you very much for inviting me, and it's been great to hear everyone's story so far. I've just written something down. So, but my brother and I were in our early 30s when we started our bakery in Berry. Quickly, our background: we both went to Bomaderry High School. We left and went to university. My brother got studied resource and environmental management. my background is agriculture, and I also did a postgrad master's in ecology and environmental values. And I ended up back in Berry, helping my parents on their farm. I came across a rundown old wood-fired bakery in Berry, and I rang my brother, and that's basically how the business started. So we did that, but we grew up in food retail, hence the idea that maybe, you know, we could do something. We started the bakery with naivety, but lots of youthful enthusiasm and energy and excitement. We had a vision of a product which we personally like to eat, and was a product that was not available anywhere south of Sydney, and it also gave us a point of difference from the other two bakeries which already existed in Berry, and we were not on the main street either. So our parents were quite dubious about our possibility of being able to do this, because we were both sons of a butcher without any kind of bakery qualifications. Fortunately, we never had to go to our plan B, which could have been the Berry wood-fired cremations, because we found enough customers to sell the bread that our oven could bake. So in terms of the question regarding the environment, the sustainability, environmental sustainability has always been as important to us as business sustainability. So we used surface carbons, trees, to fire our ovens, and have always used organic flour, biodegradable packaging. Not a plastic bag has left our shop in 20 years. We use community solar for our bakery rooftops to produce electricity, and have used and supported local produce from the Shoalhaven always. It was our basic operating principle. To my younger self, I would say, like some of the other speakers have already said, be involved and be passionate about things that are important to you. Take opportunities to experience things. Be confident in your own abilities, and yeah, don't be put off by negativity from others. I remember clearly, just one last comment. I remember clearly in the very early days of the bakery, we had a local customer come in, and we were still learning how to use a wood-fired oven. Doesn't have temperature controls, and you know, volumes of sourdough, large volumes of leavens, and one customer came back with a loaf of bread, and said, "Look, I couldn't eat it, and my chickens couldn't eat it. Here's your bread back." But it was part of our learning, and you know, you can't be put off by negative things. It's been an incredible 20 years. There are lots of up and downs. I think, you know, COVID's obviously been significant for a lot of people. We've managed to stay open, but I think, you know, in 20 years there have been other things which have also been significant, but they are good things for life. You know, resilience is important. So yeah, be brave, and you know, do what you believe in.
Wow.
Thank you.
That was amazing, Yellow. For someone who told me they had nothing to speak about, you just wrapped up in a little beautiful bow tie what every business should be doing. I love some of your words, the youthful naivety. Wow. I think that's also a common theme coming through today, but luckily you've lasted in the test of time. So thank you for your beautiful stories, especially the person who brought the bread back that the chook wouldn't eat. That's pretty amazing. So thank you, Yella. Moving now on to our last speaker who will wrap this all up together. James Guthrie AM, so an Australian medal, is a professor of accounting at Macquarie University. He's also a Berry resident, luckily to our benefit, and he's going to talk about today just a summary of what he's seen, but also how we can become smart cities. So over to you. Thank you, James.
Good. Thank you very much. Can you hear me all right?
Certainly can.
I don't put the video on because we're at the end of the line here in Berry and it usually drops out. I'm a bit of a blow-in from Sydney. I've been in Berry for 3 years now. Loving it, of course. I've been visiting Berry for 20 years. What I'd like to do first is acknowledge two macro issues that face humanity. And the first one is income inequality, and the second one clearly is climate crisis. Both of these will lead to the deaths over the next 3 decades of hundreds of millions of people unless we sort the problems out. But that's the macro level. What we're living is the life at the micro level, is the sustainability of our life world and how we can survive, not only emotionally, but financially in these troubled times. I think it's really important that the stories we heard tonight are stories about how individuals are creating sustainable work, and more importantly, sustainable work for young people in the Shellhaven. And what is really interesting about the discussions is we're not talking about a job created by infrastructure which might last for 6 months. We're actually talking about the sort of employment that will lead to long-term sustainable employment. I should put a ad in for Nick's Coffee. Nick's Coffee is really good at Ivy's, and he does a really good thing on Tuesday with his little buns, which I love. But I think the important thing is that I got involved in these discussions because I supported, I looked at and supported the development at the homestead just outside Berry. In the couple there have built a wedding planning and convention centre, and I looked into that in detail. And what I thought was really interesting about that was the sort of people that business will create, in that there'll be $500,000 spend, revenue coming into Berry, and the people that are employed would be people like local wedding planners, photographers, hair and makeup artists, floral arrangement, bartenders, waiters, cleaners, entertainers, drivers of their minibus, childcare, and of course all the suppliers. They're going to source all their product locally from the Shellhaven. And what a wonderful sustainable business that's going to be for going forward. And it just seems to me that this will become a jewel for Berry, but most importantly, it'll employ the young people. I walk into Berry now, and after maybe 5 years ago, well, might be a bit longer now, I'm getting a bit aged, but I remember the primary school just up the road, they were having trouble getting enough kids in there. They were going to close down lots of classes. And all of a sudden, we've had this influx of young families and young people, and they're all getting sustainable work around the Berry area, and they're living the good life in the Shellhaven. So in conclusion, I think it's really important that the Shellhaven City Council, because I mean, that's where it is, does engage with young people and sustainable employment for the long term, not the short term. I mean, building a motorway is a very short-term activity. It's building the sort of businesses and the infrastructure that we need in terms of supporting people in their endeavours. And the term we use in academia is, we use the term called smart regions. And that's what we've got to do. We've got to get smart about what we do, buy locally, employ locally, and encourage people to get on with their lives within their micro world of living their life. Okay.
Thank you very much, James. I like how you wrapped it up as a smart city is where we're heading towards. It's very true. And I love some of the stories that you recounted there. So thank you so much for sharing. We're now moving to the Q&A. And I've just put a picture on here of people you may not know. There's the Greens team at the top there, and down the bottom you can see the lead candidates in each ward. But in this Q&A, it's not going to be political. It's more about exactly what we talked about in all of the speeches. You know, the fact that some people had so many other talents and trained in other industries and came back because they saw opportunities here. So is there anyone who has a question? You can either put your hand up or turn your microphone on and please speak up. We'll just wait and see if there's someone who would like to have a question to anyone in the panel.
I've got a question to Yella. How on earth does someone who studies agriculture decide that baking was your future? Were you just that inspired by the things that you were missing out on?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes,
totally.
Hello. No, I think it was much more a spur of the moment than that. It wasn't. We didn't have a business plan. My brother was in Canberra. He'd been passionately baking at home. We grew up in food. We saw an opportunity. We made a decision. I don't think we were thinking beyond the year, a few years, and so it was just something really just fun and exciting as a young person. I think at that point, neither of us were imagining 20 years in the industry, which has been incredible. It's been very it's been amazing. But it certainly wasn't as planned as it might appear. But it's been fantastic, and Berry's been amazing, and and I think Berry's changed obviously enormously in those 20 years, and also in the whole Shoalhaven has grown enormously. So there's a lot more opportunity for a lot of people. So but it's it's been fun.
Tanya, can I be cheeky and ask another question? Because in our group of panelists, we've got Yella and Simon and Joey, Pia and Amy Ruth, are all people who are connecting in business with their family. And, how does it go working with family members?
Let me jump in on that one. I don't think I could work with anyone else in my family. If any of you are watching, I love you all. Other than Simon, and that could be because we're twins, and we're able to take on each other's moods, which is the best way I can put it. But it's lovely. Sorry about that. Just got a bit loud. It's really nice knowing that support, which is, something you look for even when you're feeling down, is we view it business. And I think, business is
so many ups and downs, especially for such a young business like ours. It's nice that I've got someone else to kind of carry it on their shoulders who I have just absolute trust in. And I think, unless it's like your best friend, I don't think I could do it. Well, we wouldn't have done as well as we have already if I hadn't had my brother here with me. So I have to say it's an interesting experience, but I think if done right and you can respect each other's space, I think it's just such a an obvious option. Yeah. Thanks.
If I can add to those comments, maybe. I've only ever worked really in the family company. I had other small jobs, but worked with my dad in particular very closely for the last sort of more than 20 years. And I think working, as the twins said, I guess it's a very honest relationship that you can have. And when, if you have an idea, it's very easy for the other person to either say, that's a terrible idea, you really shouldn't do that. Or to say, wow, that's a really great idea, and really pump you up. And you can, it was said before that you have a lot of trust in each other. So I've only ever really worked with family, and I can't really imagine not working with family. So I don't know what that would be like. But yeah, very worthwhile experience.
And how about?
Yeah, I'm happy to add a bit there. My family that is active in the company are my two daughters, who I think it is important, if I am allowed to say, that you can leave the Shoalhaven for a little while just to appreciate how wonderful it is to come back to. And that is indeed what my 23-year-old has done, traveled the world, many countries, lived back in Sweden, and then realized, yeah, it's pretty good living down here. And also, she didn't want to have anything to do with seaweed when she left, but now she really enjoys the farming and making new products, and has been active and creative herself in developing some of our food range. And then my second daughter is still working for me pretty closely, but she's actually doing it from the UK. So you are still able to keep your family connections. She does our customer support from the UK online with all e-commerce. And next week we'll be launching our UK dispatch centre with her over there. So there you go. We're extending the Shoalhaven into Bristol, UK next week. So it's nice to have a network with its foundations in the Shoalhaven, and we're reaching much further than our geographical footprint. And my husband, he's just a great shoulder to cry on when I come home. So that's his role in the business, and he maintains a steady employment than starting your own business.
That's a gorgeous story. Thank you so much, Pia. I didn't know you were going international, so that sounds very exciting. So congratulations. I think Peter Winkler has got his hands raised. It's coming up on my screen.
Yes, look, I have a question for any or all of the panelists. That is that what are some of the things that Shoalhaven Council could do that would assist you in your small businesses, that would enable you to grow further and employ more young people? Have you got any suggestions along those lines?
I'll jump in. I'll just say, I think that there are a number of initiatives that the council and I think the Shoalhaven campus are involved with exposing the youth to industries to sort of show presence, and the industry gets opportunity to exhibit at the Shoalhaven campus, and young people can come and see what's on offer. Yeah, maybe it's more of an awareness in the schools as well, though. Like maybe there's an opportunity that schools get to experience. So I get contacted for a work experience from students that are passionate, but maybe we need to create a bit more of a communication pathway between the schools directly and the industries that are operating here.
Yeah, and talking about schools, Pia, it's really important that career advisors don't tell their students that they're going to have to move away from the area to get upskilled. Everything is here in our region at our fingertips. So that was a beautiful comment you made. Peter, did that answer your question, or did you want a few others to answer?
If that did answer my question, thanks, Pia. I just wondered if anybody else had any suggestions, because you know, this would be really good feedback in terms of developing policy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You go.
Okay.
No, go on.
Something we felt was not an entire letdown, but it took quite a while for our development application to get through, and I just feel like that process for such a new business, and it was our first real time approaching that whole formality. And I feel like some initiative where there's some support from the local government, from the Shoalhaven government, maybe to like a liaison or someone who can kind of hold, you know, a younger person's hand through that might be a great little initiative just to kind of to fast track that kind of thing, just because I feel like a lot of people are here, you know, with these great ideas, and, you know, they go to start and they jump into this development application, and suddenly it's, you know, it's this big roadblock for a lot of people, and it sometimes ends up, you know, derailing their whole idea. And it always kind of ends up with the too hard basket. So anyone younger who's got a good idea and they want to do it, I mean, persist and you'll get there. But I think as far as Shoalhaven Council goes, that's something they could really assist with.
Yeah, and look, Simon, that was a great point, and I value your honesty, and you're not isolated. We hear this quite often, so thank you for bringing it up. And not only do we hear it, we should have to do something about it, so we'll be looking for solutions. Thanks, Simon. I think Stevie, Lee and Nick might have been wanting to talk.
Yeah, no, how you going? Yeah, I haven't spoken yet, but I will keep it tight. I won't talk too long, but I guess the interesting thing I've had in my last 2 years, like going through COVID, but also in the last 6 months while Stevie stepped away from the business on the job, we've sort of obviously, you know, like I know a lot of the other hospitality businesses being in the industry, we can all relate. I'm sure for other industries as well, but staffing's been a major sort of, I guess, concern, but also just trouble and sort of in the hold back for us and our either not only growth, but just even just to maintain day-to-day operations. And yeah, sure, COVID has had a massive sort of, effect on that. But I think like the interesting thing that I find moving into our area, and speaking to other sort of people in different industries as well, but it's just really interesting to try and actually get certain kinds of staffing into your sort of area, local area. For example, like Kangaroo Valley is an absolutely incredible spot, and we're lucky to have bought kind of on the edge of Canberra and Kangaroo Valley, but about 7, 8 years ago, you know, when obviously the market was a bit more sensible. So we actually managed to buy into this market, so we could live close to our business and work down into the Kangaroo Valley. For many sort of months now, I've been putting ads out, but I don't actually reveal where we are. I just say Shoalhaven. And we have a great conversation, and they love what we do. And you know, they're saying, "Oh, geez, but I've also read the resume and the website, and we'd like to be part of it." And then when they actually really target into whereabouts we are, and say, "Oh, Kangaroo Valley, right in the main street there," and then all of a sudden it's hard for us to get staffing down into our valley. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting, and I sort of go, and it spins around in my head, and I'm like, well, how does this sort of happen? We've got a beautiful young family connections and community down there. Some of them are still in school, and then sometimes as soon as they do grow up, they sort of head off to Wollongong and university and further around the state and country or overseas. And it's just interesting, I guess, from the council perspective, and that's why I sort of thought have this discussion here to say, well, look, I don't know. I'm a chef. I'm not into development and all that kind of stuff. But we're blessed to have a good little subdivision happening down, and that can bring, housing at a more affordable rate for young families, and that's sort of over near Canberra. And so, you know, to me, I see that as a positive because it's just over the hill, only probably about 15, 20 minutes away from our workplace. We're going to have a lot of sort of young families, and then potentially they could be young baristas or young apprentices, the chefs, wait staff, all that kind of stuff. And I've heard the one, I know other people that run top restaurants and cafes in Milton, all the way down to Ulladulla. And that's the biggest thing. And even someone mentioned the other day, a dairy farmer, you know, and then they were saying that they even want people to, you know, work on the farms, and they literally house them in caravans. And I guess one last point is that I spoke to someone in another state, and I know that's a bigger thing, but they in their little tiny little community, they're trialing a little bit of a pilot program where in even the caravan parks and some of the Airbnbs, you know, there's lots around, they were going to potentially use them as sort of housing sort of accommodation, and sort of partner up through either council and the program to actually put and give 6 months stays for either, whether, you know, down there we're talking more snow seasons, but over here we'd either talk at summer coastal areas or winters, you know, in the valley where we're actually busier. So, you know, it could be an interesting place to say, well, look, they can have a job, but they can stay only just up the road or 3 k's away from their workplace if they're driving it home late at night, and actually live close to their work. So that's an interesting thing for me, because I think
accommodation.
Yeah, it's the big thing. That's our hardest thing. Our business is beautiful. We love the valley, you know, but just to sometimes find young staff there. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and we love your business too, Stevie Lee and Nick too. So they're great. And we know you're staying because you're invested in the area. I think it's 3 businesses you've got now, isn't it? Do you also own the pizza? Or no? Doesn't matter anyway, you don't have to answer. But nonetheless, are there anyone wanting to respond to Peter's question, which was, how can we help with policy, etc.? I know we've gone over time, and I did promise you, we actually did keep very well to time, actually. So thank you very much, speakers, for actually staying within that scripted time. But any final questions before we'll start to wrap up and say a huge thank you? Yeah, is that it? I think you're probably keen to go. Let's have a look here. Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe Amanda, you'd like to do a vote of thanks as well, and whoever else would like to.
I would love to. I've really enjoyed everyone's stories tonight, and thank you for sharing. They've been really inspiring. And when you embark on these kind of things, you never actually know where you're going to land. But I think that where we have landed this evening is to know that, you know, we have a great connection and a great community, and what we've created here should be able to, you know, we're going to put it up online and pass it around to other people, and hopefully inspire some of our other younger people to, you know, stay home. You know, they're probably at the moment going, stay home. We don't want to even hear those words, but you know, that's the way it is. But even if we can tap this resource into some of our, you know, into our schools, into those advisors, and say, hey, look what these people have done, and maybe they can use snippets from this as part of what they're doing in their school advisory. So I really, really want to thank all of you for spending, you know, this time with us all this evening. It's been amazing, and I appreciate you, and I really wish you all the best in recovering your businesses once we get to that open state, and that we can all, you know, thrive together again and not just survive.
That was beautiful. Yeah. And now you know why we support Amanda. She's such an amazing woman too. If you haven't had the chance to meet her, we can introduce you any day. Michelle, did you want to say anything as the tourism South Coast? Maybe you would.
Hi, Sonia, and look, thanks for organising tonight, and it was great hearing a lot of my friends and industry colleagues that I love being able to work with, and I really appreciate that they all exist, because I love visiting their businesses and love seeing them come to ours too. But look, I probably echo everything that was there, just in terms of what council can do to help. You know, there's just simple things, and getting those simple things right. You know, mowing the grass on the reserves across from people's businesses. You know, if there's issues that you need to contact council for emergencies after hours, making sure that they that, you know, people can that are on those after hours calls can action waiting until Monday afternoon or Tuesday to get the response. There's so many little, it's all the little things. It's probably like really at the end of the day, we need council. It's pretty basic what we really need council for. We always want strong leadership and the ideas and everything there, but at the end of the day, like putting a DA submission that you know is compliant in and getting an approval back in 6 weeks is really helpful. You know, all of those functions at council, keeping them smooth and not getting caught up in you know, just if the person's away, it can't be actioned. It's just that those normal functions of council are just so important. As we start to recover, you know, we know that a lot of things, especially to do with the promotion of visitation, is on hold at council's end. And, you know, it would be great to think that we know we're going to be busy when we open, but to be able to help promote the region coming out of like coming into the off season again. So we know that we'll be busy at least until probably Easter, but after that, when the borders start to open and people can travel interstate and internationally again, we're still going to need to encourage people to come in the area. And I always say we don't need more people to come to the area. We just need the ones that come to be able to spend money and eat out at the local eateries and spend money in the thing. And I agree also, I'm on the board of Bundanon Trust, and look, that's just going to be an absolute beacon that will bring people here off season midweek, and it'll really help all of the particularly all the hospitality businesses. I know that many of them are represented here today. I think that that's going to be something that's really going to help us in this recovery from COVID, because I'm certainly concerned about what's going to happen once the borders reopen. We've got to make sure we capture the inbound tourist market, the people that are coming from Europe or America, while we start to lose some of our captive audience that we've had for the last 12 months.
Yeah. Well, right.
Can I just quickly jump in there? I just wanted to say thank you to Shoalhaven Tourism. They've been amazingly supportive for a very long time now, and it's made a real difference to lots of our business, and I'm sure lots of other businesses in the Shoalhaven. Decades of hard work, so we're very grateful. Just wanted to pop that in. Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, definitely. So look, thank you for making this community a better place, all of you on the screen. We're really thankful for everything you do, and in particular answering the call. And sorry that I tapped you on the shoulder, but you're all absolutely amazing to watch tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, Tonya.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. That was great.
Thanks, Tonya. Thanks for organising.
Thank you.